regardless of the Nazi salute, I think Elon's a Nazi.
Do I think that just because they happen to be born here that they should be an American citizen? No, I doubt that that's the reason he's against it.
That's absolutely the reason he's against it. Do you think the January 6th committee deserved to be investigated?
Uh,
Let's Talk the podcast. For those of you who don't know or may have forgotten, we release new episodes every week, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesdays on Spotify and on our website. It's called Uncommon Grounds. It's the first link in our description, takes you to the website. Our podcast will be front and center there with myself and a right-wing commentator discussing current events, debating, clashing on things, so you get perspectives from both sides. This week we were discussing the chaos from the first Trump week in office, starting with DEI initiative. This is my thing, is I think diversity is a qualification, right? Diversity of thought, diversity of experience, in so much that you are qualified for the position. Having a diverse way you're going to be qualified or look at things, I think is another qualification in and of itself. So if somebody wants to consider that in hiring, I'm completely fine with that. And I think that is something we should encourage. And when we're dissuading people from doing that, because we already do it with other things, right? People will be like, well, I want you to have a college degree to work at this job. Well, we don't say that you're discriminating against people who didn't go to college, right? Like it disproportionately, higher income people go to college. We're not going to say, well, you're discriminating against the poor because you're demanding a college degree. So we don't ever look at anything else this way. And for me, I like to look at things sociologically. And I think the larger reason for that is a lot of people want to stop the diversification of race. And if they can make it about quotas and all of this, it's a wider tent that they can pitch it to. This is something I try to stress a lot because I think it's the crux of the misunderstanding of DEI. DEI is just something that pushes for the mainstream acceptance of diversity as a positive instead of a negative. It's not forcing companies to do anything or demanding quotas. Quotas have always been illegal. You can't find anywhere in our law that demands quotas. Where what it is if you have material qualifications for the job, whether it be education, the physical makeup, the experience, whatever it is, then diversity on top of that becomes an additional qualification or a benefit if that fits better in diversifying the way that the issues will be discussed or thought about. If everyone thinks that getting to 8 has to be 4 plus 4, but that doesn't work, and you're the only one who thinks about 5 plus 3, that's an added benefit. But it also is a diversified perspective in how something may affect others based on what you personally could have experienced yourself. We see this especially in healthcare, where you get better outcome treatments if the doctor is a similar race or gender of yourself. This can be extrapolated into other fields and sectors, right? Law, think about what police interactions, politics, etc. And having social implications that incentivize this exact thing happening in more sectors and in the face of underlying social bias, preventing it for decades is a net benefit in my opinion. His arguments are really stupid anyway, because like Trump, he pardoned, excuse my French, he pardoned all his homies his first term around, pardoned Steve Bannon, pardoned all these people that were like straight up crooks. So it's like he was just going to do it anyway. So I don't know why, like, it's for Democrats, it's always like, well, now they're going to do this really bad thing. And it's like they were literally going to do it anyway. So I don't personally agree.
Well, the difference is preemptive versus post. And that might be a non sequitur to you. But like I said, in principle, to me, that's just not what the pardon is for.
I think context matters, right?
But even with this executive order, you can tell Trump it's a very different presidency this time around. It seems.
This is probably my least favorite argument from conservatives on the pardons. This idea that Joe Biden's pardons is what gave way for Trump to do his. It's just meandering to, again, try to take moral high ground and be like, but Democrats, again, Trump campaigned on doing this. He pledged allegiance to the victims and called them hostages and said he was going to do it long before Biden ever even thought about doing any pardons. At the end of the day, Trump was always going to pardon his cronies. And we know this because he did it in his first term as well. And the two level of the pardons aren't equivalent either. Biden handed out preemptive pardons because of the unprecedented nature of Trump's FBI director having a hit list full of Democrat names, not a single Republican on there. If you're wondering if it's a he just targets criminals. No, he just targets Democrats. And Trump is promising vengeance, like literally on the campaign trail, saying he's going to do this and all this other kind of crazy expletive to prevent investigations, right? If you're going to put these pardons in place preemptively, it's to prevent these investigations that could incur thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in costs to the victims of those investigations, all without merits to warrant them. We also saw this in Trump's first term with Andrew McAfee, Comey, Michael Cohen, the way that Trump would utilize these expensive investigations as a way to kind of mute or target his political enemies when he couldn't just directly have them prosecuted. Preventing Trump from doing this is in no way equivalent to Trump pardoning violent criminals solely because they committed those crimes in his name. I think the only argument I'm sympathetic to here is one from someone who's just against the presidential pardon power full stop, because so am I. That's exactly what they would say in any job.
Yeah, but we know that that's not the case for things like graphic design. We know, we've seen, you can just see somebody and look at their work, and we know that that's not the case.
Personally, I don't know about that. I don't know in terms of like the actual like in and outs of graphic design and what you would be learning in courses in terms of fitting into a job. I'm not denying, obviously, could you have the talent to be a graphic designer without going to college? Absolutely. But if you're just wanting someone who seamlessly could fit into the job of a graphic designer, I mean, courses are more so engineered for preparing you for that. I think a lot of this rhetoric just fits into the right's battle on intellectualism, and that's why we're seeing it in the mainstream a lot more. Most qualifications are just in place to give an employer confidence that you'll have the confidence and ability to do your job. A college degree is a big one for that. And as I point out, even more so than just the indicator of knowledge or like talent, because in courses, you're getting used to the rigid structure applied with that job-specific knowledge and talent, following direction, meeting deadlines, having direct expectations placed on you by a figure of authority. The transition into an actual job from that is going to be a lot more seamless than off the streets, I taught myself and I have my own bad habits, because there's going to be a lot less chance also of these bad habits, these things that you just taught yourself and isn't like accepted or done in the field or doesn't actually work in like a system, right? Or bad opinions, if it's something that's more so that way, that just doesn't align with the facts that knowledge on the subject should point you towards. It doesn't erase that from being a possibility in terms of, can people who have a college degree still think this? Of course you can, but you're at least a lot less likely to have this experience if you're taught in a structured environment rather than on your own whim. I think MAGA portraying this idea as, well, someone just as can be just as knowledgeable in a field of expertise without education as somebody who does have it is pretty harmful. And again, it just plays into their larger battle against facts and data, because a lot of the facts and data are starting to line up in ways that aren't favorable to their positions. And because of that, they had been losing on the political battle for a long time. And the way that they had got away with this first was focusing on culture issues, but now it's like maybe they don't think there's longevity there, whatever it is. They're finding a way to come back in on these political issues, and it's just attacking facts and data, where the rarity in which this would be true, that someone without a college degree could know more in a field of expertise like a STEM field than someone who has a college degree, that's so uncommon that there's no purpose in discussing it. And sure, maybe in some super niche areas of employment, this could be true. Somebody who grew up fixing cars could know more about fixing cars than someone who got a degree in an auto mechanic or whatever. But as you extrapolate this, it doesn't hold up. If you think of like doctors, teachers, any bioengineers, right? You're going to want these people to be educated. I mean, the list goes on. Really, any STEM field fits into this. But if we're pretending that college education isn't an acceptable standard, it would lead to the degradation of our workforce, degradation of our workforce. Talking's hard, especially in the STEM fields, like I mentioned.